I'll be in the middle, and then you're...
So it'll be
That's right, in the middle, and then that's right.
And then you wind us up.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys want to come up here? Whoever you guys want to come up here? The elected officials. All right.
That's right, the elected officials.
Yeah, she come up here. All right. Patricia, ¿cómo estás? Let me thank all of you, members of the press, for being here. My colleagues, obviously my congressional colleagues, and the other elected officials who have honored us with their presence here and their solidarity as always. I was going to mention the elected officials, but now there's a bunch of them, and so I think I do need to mention our host, the mayor of this great city, and then we've got constitutional officials. We've got officials from Broward and so many others, and so thank all of you for being here. January 3rd marks a historic day, clearly for the Venezuelan people and for our entire hemisphere, and also for the national security interests of the United States of America. We warned that what we were seeing in this hemisphere was not political theater. It wasn't a show. That this was real. That the President of the United States had been very clear about his policy. The day of accepting the death of American citizens, the poisoning of our youth, the destabilization of our hemisphere are over. And time again, and I thank all the members of the press, we kept saying it. And we got a lot of questions, and we kept saying, just watch, because it is a new world under the leadership of this president. I've also said on multiple occasions to many of the members of the press that I was convinced that to Maduro there were three options that he had left, and that one of them was about to close out. I thought we had the option of leaving, and it's very clear that the President of the United States, through his Secretary of State, the brilliant Marco Rubio, offered Maduro many ways to find an exit path to get out of the country. So I kept saying that was one option that was going to close. The other two options I thought were either the Noriega option or the Soleimani option. Well, President Trump, when Maduro did not accept or did not believe what the president was saying, President Trump decided on that option, to use the brave men and women, those volunteers of the United States Armed Forces, to go get him in Caracas and bring him to justice. And let's remember who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a man who was under indictment in the Southern District of New York for drug trafficking and multiple other offenses, just like, by the way, Noriega had similar offenses. Well, we have been accepting and tolerating and seeing the death and the poisoning of countless young Americans. We've seen boats and airplanes come north from the south, and we were able to only intercept a very small percentage of those. And for so many years, the attitude of different administrations was like, so what? Those days are over. Yes. It is an important day for the American people. It is a crucial day for the entire hemisphere, and it is the one thing that all of us have all been saying. We've all been saying, and you've heard me say this time and time again, that the solution, the real solution for the Venezuelan people was total, absolute democracy and freedom returning to Venezuela, and because of President Trump and the United States Armed Forces, that day has already begun. I also I am going to make some references in Spanish, but I also remind all of our friends from the press, and a lot of us have known each other for many, many years. You've heard me say this time and time again. I said this in the 4 years that President Trump was out of the White House, and I said it after he came back, that I was convinced that the tyranny, this anti-American narco-terrorist regime in Venezuela, the tyranny in Cuba, and also the tyrannical dictatorship in Nicaragua, I've said it multiple times, I believed that they would have not survived another 4 years of Trump in the White House. I said that then. When President Trump comes back, I repeated that. I said, I'm convinced that these three tyrannies are not going to survive these 4 years of President Trump. And my friends, what we are seeing is that the first of those tyrannies has not survived President Trump. The next two, their days are also counted. Déjame muy brevemente en español. Si encuentro mis notas en español, porque aquí tengo un arroz con mango.
Si tú sabes hablar español, puedes
Sí,
decir las notas.
pero como decía mi padre, yo, analfabeto en 2 idiomas, así que tengo que tener cuidado. Primero a todos ustedes, miembros de la prensa, gracias por estar aquí, a nuestros colegas, a mis colegas del Congreso de los Estados Unidos, mi hermano y mi hermana, obviamente qué privilegio estar con ella, pero con todos estos oficiales electos de nuestra comunidad, que para nosotros son colegas, son amigos, y que admiramos tanto. Gracias a cada uno de ustedes por estar aquí con nosotros hoy. Esto ha sido un día realmente histórico, un día que muchos habíamos estado esperando, trabajando para que llegara y ansiosos que por fin llegara. Esto marca una nueva época por décadas ya. En este hemisferio hemos visto estas dictaduras, y ahora estamos hablando específicamente de la de Venezuela, actuando con impunidad, envenenando a nuestra juventud, destabilizando a todas las democracias en el hemisferio, utilizando los fondos que ese cartel de los soles le ha estado robando a ese pueblo venezolano para hacer daño a los intereses de los Estados Unidos y a través de todo el mundo y todo el régimen. Y año tras año había como una aceptación de distintos presidentes en los Estados Unidos. La frustración mía siempre ha sido de que nosotros podíamos ver en mi posición la cantidad de barcos de droga y aviones y avionetas viniendo del sur, y solamente hemos podido interceptar un porcentaje muy pequeño hasta que todo cambió. El presidente Trump, esto es una política muy bien establecida, muy bien pensada. Primero, declaró a estos grupos narcoterroristas como grupos terroristas. Segundo, dijo que estos grupos terroristas han estado en guerra con los Estados Unidos y ahora los Estados Unidos va a demostrar que eso no es permisible, que está en guerra con ellos. Después comenzó a actuar y después trajo una fuerza militar realmente impresionante a esta área y le advirtió directamente y públicamente al tirano Maduro que se fuera, que sus días estaban contados. Obviamente Maduro no quiso escuchar. Parece que pensaba que todavía está Biden en la Casa Blanca. Todavía pensaba que la izquierda iba a poder proteger a este narcoterrorista que tomó control de este gran país. Pero es que ha cambiado el mundo. También yo he dicho en múltiples ocasiones que la solución para todos los problemas de los venezolanos en el exilio, de los venezolanos en Venezuela, de los venezolanos regados a través del mundo, que la solución real es una, y siempre ha sido una, la libertad y la democracia en Venezuela. Y por el presidente Trump y los héroes de las Fuerzas Armadas de los Estados Unidos, con también nuestro brillante Marco Rubio, el secretario de Estado y el secretario de Guerra. Ese día ya ha llegado. Así que de nuevo, repito lo que también he dicho en múltiples ocasiones, que yo estaba convencido que estas tres tiranías no hubiesen sobrevivido otros 4 años de una presidencia de Trump. Eso lo reiteré después de estas últimas elecciones. Yo estaba convencido que eso iba a ocurrir. Hemos visto ahora por qué yo lo he estado diciendo y mis colegas sabíamos que esto era la realidad. Porque este es un presidente que ha puesto en la mesa una política positiva para los Estados Unidos y para este hemisferio y ha actuado de una forma realmente impresionante y muy positiva. Así que vamos a tomar preguntas, pero mucho antes que eso tengo que reconocer a mis 2 colegas del Congreso de los Estados Unidos. I don't need to introduce my next colleague. She is a leader in the Foreign Affairs Committee. She is a person who knows the hemisphere and knows this community, and who is immensely respected by her colleagues of Democrat or Republican in Congress, and that is Congresswoman Salazar. From what number district?
27.
27th district,
Yes.
right next door.
Yes.
Congresswoman, please.
Thank
you
you
have the floor.
very much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And delighted to be here in your home. Delighted to be in front of all of you, my colleagues in the news media and the elected officials, and my brothers in arms in Congress. Today is definitely a glorious day, not only for the Venezuelans, but for the Cubans and for the whole hemisphere. And we feel it probably more than anybody else because we know how hard it's been. But we have a fantastic leader called President Trump. And thank God that because of him, justice caught up with Maduro. And a new chapter has begun. Oh, yes. For the Venezuelan people, a new chapter has begun for the hemisphere, as a new chapter for the whole hemisphere. And I was saying to my two colleagues that Maduro is a very blessed and lucky guy, that he did not fall in the hands of the Cubans who were supposed to be protecting him, because he would be dead right now. He fell in the hands of the Americans. He's going to be able to have a good life in jail for the next 40 years for what he did, but he is alive and he is in the hands of our troops. So he is a blessed guy. In our 240 years history, it proves that we are not an occupying power, like some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are saying. We're not an occupying power. We are a liberating power, and we restore power, and then we give it back to those who are in that country. We are a very benevolent country. And today, as Mario was saying, January the 3rd joins history's calendar, because a day like today, in 1990 in Panama, Manuel Antonio Noriega was removed and a legitimate president was restored shortly thereafter. We let free people govern themselves. We are not in the business of creating colonies, and that's exactly what's going to happen in Venezuela for anyone who is afraid of the future. In 1983, Ronald Reagan removed a Marxist regime in Grenada, the island of Grenada, and that island has been prosperous and free ever since. We know that the same history is going to happen in Venezuela. The president said it this morning very clearly. He wants Venezuela to be free, prosperous, and secure. They have the largest reserves of oil in the world, so they're going to be able to pay for their own reconstruction. They're not going to be asking or begging any other country, including ours, to lend them money. They have enough resources to do that. So that also means that no more Russia, no more China, no more Hezbollah, no more Iran, no more Hamas on Venezuelan soil trying to harm our children or launch a terrorist attack against our country. In July of 24, Venezuela had elections and Edmundo Gonzalez won, and as the vice president was Maria Corina Machado. We are going to allow for the Venezuelans to decide once again who do they want to be governed by. We're not going to be choosing Venezuela's next president. We don't do that. We're not in the business of installing regimes. We're in the business of helping the country make their own decisions. I, just like Mario and Carlos, we represent the largest Venezuelan diaspora in the United States, in particular in the city of Miami. And today, we've encountered them on the streets, crying for joy and for hope and for what the future brings. And the message has been very clear. President Trump kept his word. President Trump had the internal fortitude, had the political pants to do what no other president, Republican and Democrat, for the last 25 years that you have been serving in Congress and I have been a member of the news media, no one had that resolution of liberating the hemisphere from thugs like this Maduro, who only harmed his people and our people through drugs, through terrorist attacks, through gang members, specifically Tren de Aragua. That's the kind of leader that we need in the Western Hemisphere. Someone like President Trump, who it will not allow for rats, for scoundrels like this guy, to be in the presidential palace anymore and poison our generation and their generation. So Venezuela is at the door of a new dawn, a new good partner for the United States. And once again, we always give the country back much better than we encountered it. So thank you to all of you. Once again, we are extremely happy. I think I should say some words in Spanish. We're going to take, I think, questions after. But quiero decir solamente de que este es un día extraordinario, no solamente para los venezolanos, sino para todo el hemisferio, para los cubanos, para todo el mundo libre del hemisferio occidental. Yo, como la chairman del Western Hemisphere Subcommittee, el subcomité del hemisferio occidental dentro del Comité de Relaciones Exteriores, para nosotros es un día maravilloso porque nos damos cuenta que nuevamente los Estados Unidos demostró lo que es un país bueno, un país benevolente, un país que lo que quiere es dar más que recibir. Y en este caso le ha tocado a Venezuela. Le damos muchas gracias al presidente Trump porque tuvo los pantalones políticos que no ha tenido más nadie, incluyendo presidentes republicanos y demócratas. Nosotros estábamos en el Congreso, él en la alcaldía y yo en la miembro de la prensa. Por 25 años estábamos esperando qué va a pasar, por qué los Estados Unidos no actúan. Y gracias a Dios hoy lo hizo el presidente Trump. El día 3 de enero es un día que va a pasar a la historia porque no solamente hoy, Maduro es un hombre que está ahora en prisión, sino también Manuel Antonio Noriega en 1990 pasó lo mismo. Y ahí está la historia de los Estados Unidos, donde nosotros removemos a los malos, ayudamos a los buenos y le devolvemos el país para que cada uno se gobierne como quiera. Y eso mismo es lo que va a pasar en Venezuela. Nosotros no vamos a poner ni quitar presidente, nosotros vamos a ayudar a los venezolanos a elegir su propio presidente, a que hayan elecciones libres si es que tienen que volver a verlas. Sabemos que en julio del 24, Edmundo González y María Corina Machado ganaron después que Maduro le prometió a Biden que iba a dar elecciones libres en un acuerdo que se llamaba el Acuerdo de Barbados. Ahora tienen que los venezolanos, junto con los Estados Unidos, decidir cómo va a ser esa transición. Pero lo que sí sabemos como miembros del Congreso, que los Estados Unidos aquí está para ayudar y no para quitar. Que los Estados Unidos lo que quiere es ayudar al pueblo venezolano, que no va a necesitar que le demos limosnas, porque tienen suficiente petróleo como para poder pagarse su futuro y su prosperidad. Así que para nosotros verdaderamente, esto para mí personalmente, todos los amigos venezolanos, nosotros representamos a la diáspora venezolana en el sur de la Florida, no solamente en el distrito 27, en el 28, en el 26, todo el sur de la Florida. En este momento los venezolanos están llorando, no solamente de alegría, sino de esperanza que finalmente les llegó su hora. Y para nosotros estamos llenos de orgullo que fue un presidente republicano y que fue el presidente Trump el que dijo que lo iba a hacer y lo hizo. Así que Dios lo bendiga.
And to wind us down, and we'll take questions. Again, another person who I am privileged to work with. Obviously, he was a phenomenal mayor, even better member of Congress, if that's possible. Respected by his colleagues on the Homeland Security Committee and also on the Armed Services Committee, and also on the China Select Committee. And so very familiar with the threat that exists today in 2 countries in this hemisphere, but not 3. And so, my dear friend, my dear colleague, our Congressman Carlos Jimenez.
Thank you. And I don't know how I'm going to follow up on what my two colleagues have already said, especially Maria. Please do not let me follow her again. First of all, we have to thank President Donald J. Trump. So let me say that again. We need to thank President Donald J. Trump because how many times have we heard presidents say, "Don't do that. Here's a line in the sand."
Yeah.
And make sure we don't do that. And if you do that, there's going to be consequences. And the people actually do that, and nothing happens. Well, that doesn't work with Donald J. Trump. When he tells you, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to give you a way out, and he does, always, he gave the Iranians a way out, and you don't take advantage of that, then he is going to do what he said he's going to do. And today, he took that action, an action that was sorely needed. About 2 or 3 years ago, I asked Christopher Wray, he was in front of my committee, the cartels in our hemisphere have killed far more Americans, far more, hundreds of thousands, than any of the Middle Eastern terrorist organizations. Al Qaeda maybe killed 4,000 or something. Well, Al Qaeda came over here and killed 3,000 Americans. We went 6,000 miles and waged war for 20 years. We're having these criminals in our own backyard for decades, killing hundreds of thousands of us, and we don't do anything. And why can't we label them a terrorist organization? And he gave me some bureaucratic answer as to why they couldn't do it. Well, I guess they could.
Yeah.
I guess they could. And that was what was necessary, to label them, designate them as a terrorist organization, because they've been terrorizing us for years. And nothing has happened to them until today.
Right.
And so, again, thank you, President Trump, for taking the action to protect American lives, to protect American interests. And people say, what are we doing in Venezuela? How is that America first? It's damn right it's America first. Right? It's protecting American lives, protecting American interests. And we need to do more of it. And we also need to be the protector of democracy and liberty in our hemisphere, because that's also America first.
Yes.
When we see these dictators all over the place in South America, they don't have America's best interests in mind. I mean, I understand that they